Was the faith piece something you grew up with, or is
Yeah.
that something that you found?
Grew
Yeah.
up going to church, checked the block on all that, thought I was a Christian.
Right.
I was a Christian, but I wasn't living through Christ. It's just like when I'm at the stage where I do want a husband. You can be a godly man, but are you a man of God?
What's the difference to you?
To me, well, if you're checking the box saying, "Oh yeah, I believe in God. I, go to church every once in a while." Okay, that's great, but when you're having a bad day, what's the first thing you do? Do you go to God, or do you let your mind just run with whatever emotion you're feeling? Do you thank God? The first thing I do every morning is read my Bible, and it's hard. It's not easy, and there's not every day that I do that. I fail as a Christian every single day, but I at least try, and I acknowledge that. So there is a difference between being a godly man and a man of God. I want someone who's going to walk with me with God. I want someone who's going to put God first before me. I don't want to be before God. Absolutely not. Because then my future children are going to see that, and then what you're basically teaching these kids is put earthly things before the Lord. And I don't believe in that at all, because that's the way I grew up. And it took me a second to realize that that's a lot of the frustration and a lot of the drama, a lot of the just down in the dumps type of feelings would go away if you had your priorities straight. But you have to learn that on your own. It's not something you can teach somebody. It's not something that you can make somebody do. They have to want it.
Was your realization maybe that your faith walk was not what it needed to be, something that came to your attention when your parents split up? Was that really what put that into perspective for you, where you realized you needed something maybe more real?
That started it, I think. And then it wasn't until I lived in Virginia that I was actually trying to get a horse into a trailer. We had been working, and we were both tired. It was just me and her. And this trailer I had borrowed it. It wasn't mine, and it wasn't a trailer that was that comfortable to ride in, but it was a way to get back home. And she's exhausted, I'm exhausted. I'm trying to get her into the trailer. She will not load. And I'm pulling, and I'm trying, and I'm talking sweet to her. I'm sitting there with some food trying to get her, and she'd get one step in and then back up. One step in and then back up. And at this point, I was emotionally all over the place, mentally not in the right headspace.
Homesick, maybe a little bit?
No, not really. I was just I made the decision of getting a relationship, and that was not a healthy one at all.
People suck, Emma.
They do.
I'm telling you.
There's a lot of great ones out there, but the great ones are hard to find. But my manager was not very kind to me. I had producers who were being inappropriate with me. And so I just sat there and I realized that I was God and that mayor was me. He's like, "You're tired, you're exhausted. If you just follow me, if you just trust me and you get into this trailer, we can go home. You're going to get fed, you're going to get watered, you're going to get a bath, you're going to be taken care of." I was trying to take her home, but she was so scared and she was just so unsure, and there's so many distractions going on around her that she would not get in that trailer. And I realized that God was just trying to do the same thing for me. He's like, I get one foot there, we go in the right direction, and then I get distracted and Satan would win. And I would just be like, "Oh, well, this awful thing happened." I wouldn't necessarily blame God, but I'd forget he existed. And the good things would happen. And I'd forget to thank him. And he was just not at the forefront of my mind anymore. And I just sat there and I started bawling in that trailer in Blacksburg, Virginia. Elliston, Virginia. There's cattle yelling, screaming over here. And I'm just sitting there with this horse. My horse is just like, "I don't know what your malfunction is. Like, you're just crying in a trailer. I'm going to eat that grass right there." But that was kind of my realization that I needed to change a lot of things. And 2 weeks later, found this job, got it, and then moved here. And how happy I've been. Yeah, I have my bad days. Everybody has their bad days. Sales fall through. People are jerks. Shit happens. But how happy I am compared to and opportunities and the small blessings I took for granted for. It's completely changed since I made that realization and called myself out on it.
Did you start? Have you always been a big reader? You said you were reading that book about education. Is that something that then kind of took off after you had that moment? Did you start reading things that helped change your mindset and perspective? And if so, what's maybe one of the best books you've read in the last few years that you'd recommend to people who maybe they're on the same emotional or spiritual journey that you are?
Yeah. So first thing I did is cut out pretty much all of Netflix, and like I don't have a TV in my house. Well, I've got a TV, but it doesn't have. It's got Amazon Fire Stick in it, and I've turned it on maybe once in the past few months. I think that you need to constantly grow emotionally or spiritually and mentally, because people can take away the money in your account, they can cut off your limbs, they can destroy your family. The two things that they can't take away, what's in here and what's in here. And so if you're constantly growing and strengthening up here and here, especially what's in here first, no one can stop you. And so some of the books that I've divided up, I always read my Bible and always learning new things about my Bible. So that's like the first thing I always tell people is get yourself if you're starting, get a study Bible. There's little prompts and little explanations and things in there that really help. I pray before
What's your favorite version?
I don't have one. I read I've got several Bibles in different versions because what King James may say may not make sense than the version of the NIV.
Yeah.
So
I think the Living is soft.
Yeah.
I used to be obsessed with the Amplified. You ever read the
I
Amplified
have not.
Bible?
I have not.
It's great. It's like two Bibles together.
Really?
So every verse is about twice as long because it's got all these
duplicating it.
It's
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that's the thing nowadays. I realize that it's not just about your walk with God and understanding His Word, but making sure that you're not following these false prophets, especially on the TikTok and the social media. There's a lot of verses that get taken out of context. So understanding what's being said. Yeah, that one little phrase might sound good, look great on a t-shirt, but if you read the whole verse or the whole chapter, you're like, that is not what they're saying.
Yeah.
So, and that comes from looking at a church home. I have left churches because of that.
So you're pretty stubborn.
I am
Headstrong.
open to perspective. Oh,
Yeah?
I'm German, of course. Of course. The sky's not blue, it's teal. Yeah, no, it's always been stubborn, but being willing to listen is a big one, but just knowing what's true and what's false. And it takes I've followed some people that I really later realized was not accurate, not true at all. So if you're starting that journey, you have to be open and receptive, but just know it's okay not to know, but realize what's really going on. You've gotta just, especially nowadays, like the TikTok, I've seen verses and Bible studies being taken out of context, and it's a slippery slope. Like The Chosen. The Chosen is a TV show, and I haven't watched it, but the first season, I guess, season 1 or 2, great. Christians loved it. Well, the trailer came out for, I think it's season 3. I don't know if it's season 2 or season 3. Well, he comes in and the guy playing Jesus says, "I am the law of Moses." No. That's from the Book of Mormon. That's not from the Bible.
You know where The Chosen was shot, right? Where they shot. Most of it is at all the LDS sets.
Yeah.
That's who
Well,
lent
the
them
two
all
people
the sets and
are
everything.
the majority shareholders of or directors of that
Right.
deal are Mormon.
Yeah.
So you've got to be careful.
Well, I think everybody's got to be their own best advocate when it comes to personal growth, right?
Yep.
So if fitness is part of it, which it sounds like it is part of your personal growth journey, you can be following along with somebody. Maybe they're a running coach or a nutrition coach. Well, what if what they're saying just doesn't really work for you? Well, then you you've got to be able to recognize wheat for wheat and chaff for chaff. Maybe you take from them what they're strong about and right about, but you leave with them what you maybe disagree with, and you're looking over here. I think that's super important. The whole being your own best advocate when it comes to your spiritual growth, your physical growth, your economic growth is very important. I think a lot of people want that easy button.
Yep.
And they just kind of want to mail it in. I think for a lot of people who trusted the government, maybe the last 2.5 years has been a big eye-opener.
Yes.
You can't just blindly say, oh, they got me. I'm good. If anything bad happens, I'm good. No, they ruined your small business. They transferred all the wealth. They scared the fuck out of you so they could control you. And if you don't understand that, then that's on you.
Yeah. They want you to blindly follow them and believe in them.
Yeah. The disturbing thing about spirituality and the religious piece is that there is such an ability for those people who are saying things, whether they're interpreting from the scriptures correctly or incorrectly, according to your belief system or mine. It's way easier for them to get their message out there than it ever has been. And if you've ever noticed, people really gravitate toward what they want to hear. So, for example, the prosperity gospel is big. Your Joel Osteens of the world. Yeah. And you just sitting there listening to it going, no, brother, this isn't a get rich quick scheme, man. This is so important. Yeah, I grew up in the church. My dad was a preacher, so I've got different feelings about all of that. I've read the Bible all the way cover to cover, somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 or 40 times. We used to do that growing up, memorized books of the Bible, all of those things. Yeah, I just think that the relationship that you have with God or your higher power or the universe or whatever you think it is yours, because you get one life. And when we all look around and we're like, hey, you should be doing this because I'm doing this, or we look at another person and go, wow, what they're doing, maybe I should be doing that. When you can really dial in, like it sounds like you have, you feel a sense of maybe you're happy, but maybe it's coming from more from a deeper joy that you have now that maybe you feel freer. Maybe you feel like you're back on the right track, like you said.
Spiritual satisfaction first.
There's something deeper about having your own spiritual journey than something that you open in a box or that you watch on a box. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Because, about a year and a half ago, right now, I'm in 7 weddings this year alone.
The fuck?
7. Well, everyone's getting married.
You got lots of friends?
I do not. They just all decided to get married, and I told people, if you want to get married this year, you get to choose from the bridesmaid colors. You don't get to pick your own color. I'm tired of this, but no. So
you get to wear your hat in every
no,
one
they
of them?
no.
Not allowed.
I do break out the tennis shoes. They're the infamous lilac colored tennis shoes. I whip off the heels and I put the tennis shoes on when we go dance, and the photographer, for whatever reason, is obsessed with it.
There you go.
Got one more wedding that they'll probably make their appearance and they'll probably retire. But I used to feel left out. Everybody was in these long-term relationships and getting engaged, married, having kids, and it's like, dang, I want that so bad. That's just not the way I look at it now. Back then, I was like, what the heck? Like, I can't find my person. The ones I think I find end up being jackwagons or they're just not a match for me. And I realized that not only was God working on me to get to this point, but he's probably working on my partner, and he's teaching me how to love my future husband, just like I'm hoping he's teaching my future husband how to love me. Lord knows he's going to have his hands full. Yeah. So it's, my dad can contest to that.